Queries are temporary looks at your data that are constructed from the records and fields stored in your data tables. A query is literally a question that you ask of the data, and the result is returned as a temporary data sheet called a record set. Record sets merely display data. They don't store it permanently. This means that when your tables update, the query record sets updates. There is no need to update the data in two or more locations. Further, the record set functions just like any of your other tables when feeding records to a form or a report, or even in fact to another query. On the surface, and as far as the other database objects are concerned, they are tables. But as we'll see, they're simply pretending to be tables. The problem is that the tables we've created in Access are very efficient in storing data. But it also seems a little counterintuitive when it comes time to actually finding information spread between lots of tables. If, for instance, we needed to quickly find Robert Acosta's emergency contact phone number, we would first need to look up his employee ID, then take that information to the phone table, and then find his employee ID there, and finally get the number. If you have hundreds or thousands of phone numbers to look up, for a human sifting through these tables, that could be a lot of work. Luckily, we have query objects to do all that for us. Queries bridge related tables back together in whatever configuration we might need. To create a query, we simply need to write out some basic instructions on how to assemble the data. Imagine that you take your data tables and you smash them all apart. Every field is now its own building block. When you create a query, you essentially cherry pick which fields you want to pick up, which fields you want to ignore, and in what order to snap them back together again. The only space that queries take up in the database is just enough to store a few lines of simple instructions on how to reassemble your data, regardless of how many records those tables contain. And that's just the most basic thing that they can do for you. Needless to say, queries are a very powerful component of your Access database, and the wizards and design tools make it easy for you to harness that power.